Hey everyone, welcome to the Luxe Queen Letter Conversations. I am so excited today because I get to introduce you to one of my good friends in this space of entrepreneurship. It's really interesting because the way that we met, we had a few like minded friends that knew each other and they mentioned the organization, but somehow we were able to get together. And from that first interaction, we've been like this. And
Yes.
I'm super excited because that doesn't happen often. And so I think what's really important today is for us to really talk about what it feels like when you can find a person like I'm going to introduce to you that you can collaborate with, that you can partner with. You're not worried about competing with this person. You can figure out how you can make a win win for each of you. So I'm super excited to introduce you today to Meghann Contour. This woman is freaking amazing. And I'm going to give you the privilege of introducing yourself because I always think we can talk about ourselves better than other people can because you know what we need to hear. So, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Lux Queen Letter Conversations, Meghann.
Thank you, Shayla. And I totally agree. It was one of those kismet introductions that you and I had when you were on the 6 to 7 figure women podcast. And I just had this instant gravitation toward you and your abundant way of thinking and this leveled up way of thinking that you have. And that has been part of my journey as well, is that women, if we want to grow our businesses to new heights, we have to own our next big stage, our next big level. And that's something that you've done from the very beginning.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. So yes, it has always been my pleasure and my mission in life to help support women who are growing their businesses. And starting from when I had my first business in 2009 as a marketing consultant and working with a lot of women who are scaling their businesses from 6 to 7 figures in the realm of marketing and branding to this point where I realized that, while I was doing great work, I could only work with about 20 clients per year. And I had this big epic mission to help more women get to the 7 figure mark so that we can really move the needle in terms of only 2% of us getting to that level, not just for the sake of the dollar signs, for the sake of what those dollar signs can do. And really realizing early on in business that women limit ourselves, but society sometimes limits us. We don't develop businesses that have a model that's going to be sustainable or possible for us to get to 7 figures. We don't get as easy access to capital. There's all these factors that are stacked up against us. And if all we do is focus on those things, we'll never get to where we want to go. So the Dames from the very beginning has been this organization that really seeks to give women the resources, the connections, the collaboration, teaching that collaboration art, and also teaching that we're going to need to work with other coaches, with other advisors, with other, business fractionals in order to get our businesses to where we want to go. But before we even do that, we need to be in community with those who are already at and above our level so that we can see the possibility of what's ahead. And that's really what has driven me to start the Dames back in 2015 and just having events to the point where we developed our online membership platform in 2017 and started launching new chapters in 2018 and building this global virtual network that also has some in-person connection, but that functions in a way of saying we women are worldwide. We women business owners and career professionals are worldwide. And the more of us that can help support each other and collaborate with each other to get to our desired pinnacle or our desired next level, the more of us that can support each other, the better. And the more that we are going to really shift the paradigm of business.
And it was that conversation that really attracted me to the work that you're doing because that was my conversation that I was having with some peers. If we're looking in our community, you hear people speak about this messy middle, but it was just a conversation with no action associated with it. And we looked at marketing. In marketing, you see, you can have a seven-figure business, you can have a six-figure business, but the statistics are telling us 2% of the women business owners actually get to that point, or 6.2% of women get to 250,000. It's a very small club. And I love that you're reminding us that one of the reasons that that's not happening is because we're lacking community. It's a very isolated journey where people quit. They stop. They think that I'm doing something wrong. This I must not be doing the right thing. It's taken me so long. And I love that you said, let me create a space. Let me create a space where we can support each other. It doesn't have to be a lonely journey. And you can be with the people that have already done it. It's not a
Absolutely.
mystery, taking the mystery out of it. So what you've created with the Dames was, it was something I was looking for, because I know, there are other organizations that support women entrepreneurs, but tell me a little bit more about the uniqueness. What makes it unique? Because if you throw a rock, you can hit an organization that says, we're the organization for women entrepreneurs, but why the Dames?
Yes. So, early on when we started, there was a much smaller pool of my competitors, quote unquote, because we were one of the first organizations that said, we are women running 6 and 7 figure businesses and women at director levels and higher of large organizations. We became one of the first that went international. And there's become a lot more of competition who are doing the same things. So
Of
we are
course.
really looking at it and saying, okay, how are we positioning ourselves differently? And it's our job to do that, right? As business owners, to consistently look at the marketplace and see what is happening. And from the very beginning, our paramount pillar that differentiates us has been this power partner concept. In that, when you come into our organization, you're not here to sell your wares to each other. So you're not going to be on calls with me or me being one of the members, of course, and saying, hey, want to buy my stuff? Because that just creates this atmosphere of what networking has had a bad name in for so long. And in our organization, we don't allow that. It's a pitch-free community so that you can come in and you can be amongst your peers and really saying, okay, how can we collaborate to move the needle for both of us? And that's an art. There's
It
a lot
is.
to learn in that. There's a lot
Yeah.
to unlearn in that. There's a lot that, women have been subjugated to, and women have also just had a lot of attitudes of competition and attitudes of having to get ahead and, well, you do the same thing I do. And it's like, if we can remove all of that vernacular and say, you never do the same thing as what someone else does. And it's our job to really figure out how we differentiate each other. So in the Dames, we're teaching that way of power partnering and how to identify who your best power partners are, how to collaborate, and what are those different ways we can collaborate, and then setting the goals as power partner groups or as individuals to be able to support each other and see how the needle is moving, at the same time as providing education that we provide, access to women running 7-figure businesses, and mastermind groups and calls, all the things that we've put together as our suite of offerings for a monthly membership price. But really, that thing that differentiates us from all the other networking events and networking organizations and communities is that power partner concept, which in and of itself is very unique.
It is unique. When I first joined, I was like, oh God, I have to talk to people. The introvert in me was like, never. And I will say, with that being a unique part of your organization, you have a unique personality too that makes it more comfortable, and helps you to be more confident in the process. And that really appealed to me, because when we had our first get to know each other, I said, I can't sit through another pitch. And it was nothing like a pitch. It's unique from the beginning. So I'm curious to know, like, you've had this, what year did you start it?
We started having events in 2015, but really we formed as an entity and started growing in 2018.
So, almost 10 years of doing this work. what are some things that you've had to maybe shift in the organization with the growing needs of women business owners? Because with any business, we know sometimes we have to pivot a little bit, we have to adapt to the way things are changing. What are some things that you found that you all needed to kind of redefine or shift just to move the organization along?
It's been really wonderful that I have had a spiritual journey alongside of my business growth journey
Yeah.
and realized early on and even before starting the Dames that I needed to listen to my intuition and I needed to tap into what's going on beneath the surface, not just what's going on out there in the world. And so that took a lot of courage as well when, I'm sitting down in 2017 and in meditation and realized like I need to build this online global platform and I need to bring women in from all different cultures and all different backgrounds and industries and countries and bring us together to have this place to network, have this place to really work on building up trust for women again and
Mm.
deconstructing some of those things that a lot of us dealt with if we were ever in corporate or just, the backstabbing things that some of us have experienced and having a safe place to do that, as well as getting education, having access to seven-figure women on and on. And, I was kind of like, really? I'm going to do this? It doesn't seem like exactly like what needs to be done right now, but man, I'm so glad that I did because then it gave us the opportunity to not only grow our local chapters, but I had this determination from a very early stage that I was going to connect people globally. And a lot of that comes from my global studies and having done a lot with international business and being fluent in French and having traveled a lot to know that women in other cultures don't have the inspiration that we have. And why not? Why
Yeah.
not in this global world where we're connected by the internet? Why can't we? So that just being this guiding light for me that continued on so that in 2019, when I decided to close my marketing business and go full time with the Dames, it made it possible not only from the perspective of, okay, we have this whole global platform and I don't have to worry about just my local communities of where we have local chapters. I have this whole world of possibilities of women running 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses. And at that same time, obviously, we know what happened in 2020, being able to really take off and not having to not waste, I don't want to say that, spend any time really pivoting. There
Mhm.
was just an immediate, okay, how can we support? And we started to really look at, okay, we've got this global network. What can we do here in the United States to help our members get access to funds? What can we do globally to help members get access to each other and to really support one another and cross referring and cross promoting? And it just became this tool that I had already created that was able to explode. And, as we've come back into this hybrid world, it's been easy to just go back to quote unquote having in person. We started having our Funference, which is our annual conference in person in 2022. And that was my first time doing a multi-day event. You were there and, there were
And
lots
I
of
didn't
bumps
know
and
it was your first
bruises.
time.
Right. Yeah, there were a lot of bumps and bruises that came with that, but I always trust that everyone that was there was supposed to be there as part of that inaugural experience, and then that it's our duty as the dames to really upgrade each time, and we have, and that's, so it's always paying attention not only to what's going on outside, but also what's going on under the surface. That is an advantage.
That's a huge advantage. And as someone also that's quite intuitive and like kind of listens, there are those times when we don't listen. And I'm really curious, was there any part of you that said, no, I really shouldn't do this? Or why would people pay attention to my organization? Like, did you have any doubt? And how did you get past that doubt?
I think that the blessing of it was I was so focused in the beginning from 2015 to 2019 on my marketing, running my marketing business and the dames that I
Yeah,
didn't even have time to
I love
think
it.
about that.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's no mistakes in that. I was so focused on just trying to stay above water. And also, I couldn't deny that as soon as I formed the Dames, it was basically some events underneath my marketing business in the beginning. And then when I realized like I need to construct this whole website and I need to build the membership and et cetera, and started constructing all of that, everything just fell into place.
Yeah.
And there was no mistake to say, okay, well, now we're our own entity and this organization is growing at 10 times the speed of what my marketing business ever did. And I've always felt this pull toward it. And I knew that it was going to be, as soon as I created it, I knew that it was going to be the vehicle, the mechanism to get in front of tens of thousands, millions of women, so that the work that I'm here to bring could happen at a faster and more profound rate than the one-on-one work I was doing in my marketing
Yeah.
business. And
I mean,
I
it's,
attest a lot of that to the business model and really figuring that out, but also
yes.
listening to my intuition.
Well, what I also hear is, there was a pull
Yes.
and you leaned into the pull instead of resisting the pull, but also, and I know what this feels like too. You kept the thing that was already generating money until it was time for you to decide to let that aspect go if that's what your choice was.
Yeah.
So, you were like, "Hey, I got to make things happen." But this thing is pulling me. And sometimes that has to be the journey, especially when you've started getting yourself established. There are lots of us that have gotten to 6 or 7 figures and then said, "Oh, I want to do something different." And people are looking at you like, "Why would you do that?" But sometimes there's a calling that's stronger than the work that you're doing, and you have to make a choice of how you're going to navigate that. One of the things I heard you mention was the Fun Friends. That's one of the things that you're offering members um, in your organization. Are there any other resources or services that the Dames offers? I know we talked about the Power Partners. Tell me a little bit more about those services.
Yes. So it's really a choose your own adventure design because I wanted to have something that women could come in and really get clear on what their goals are and really plug into the resources that are going to help them accelerate toward their goals. We're all very different. I'm also very sensitive to different personalities, as you were speaking about earlier. Not everyone is a raging extrovert like myself. And so, when it began, when we just had these extravaganzas in person in Denver, and they're very boisterous, energetic events. And then we had one online connect hour each month. And then we started adding, our trainings, and then we started adding different components. And all the while, as I was growing as a person and realizing not only personalities, but buying transactional, our transactional personalities. And I know that you've probably looked at influence ecology in some way, shape, or form, and some of the other, wealth dynamics and all of these different things. It's my duty to really build an organization that supports and has an ecosystem for women growing their mid 6-figure businesses to the 7 and 8-figure mark. But it's also my duty to say, okay, Shayla is probably going to want more one-on-one connection than people like me who want to be in a big group and want to meet as many people at once as possible. Or at the same time, this earlier 6-figure stage business owner is probably going to need more of the learning and support from that aspect of trainings. Whereas the 7 and 8-figure business owner is going to need we've always had the 7-figure circle for that woman who comes together to connect with other women in completely varying industries, but has that commonality of running a team,
Right.
running a budget, up leveling their financial acumen. The transitions and transformations that those business owners are going through is very different from the 500K Dame, the 250K Dame, and the 100K Dame. Hence why we've created these different think tank circles at those levels so that we can meet the needs of those specific ceilings that they're facing. And as you speak about it a lot, you are aware that your genius zone is in helping them get past that 250K mark. And what I've found in the Dames is there is a drastic difference between the 100K to 250K Dame and the 250K plus Dame. So
Yes.
we've really looked at, okay, we have those specific business resources because first and foremost, we're a business growth organization, but we also have the personal growth trainings, programs, etc. Because it's my belief and it's our belief that you can't grow professionally if you're not doing the inside work as well. So we provide a
Exactly.
lot of the personal growth work, as well as connecting you to your power partners based on what it is that your goals are, where your business is at, what it is that you're needing to accomplish. So everything is very much come in and learn where it is that you need to go so that you can be plugged into the right resources and choose how you want to spend 2 to 3 hours a month in the Dames, as opposed to thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to come in and do all the 12 to 13 hours worth of things that are provided, which we would never want you to do.
And
So
that's a blessing.
yes,
Because
yeah,
I saw the calendar, I was like, that's not happening.
yeah.
But I do love that you do guide us and say, okay, this would be a good fit for you, or this is something you should consider. And in the end, you're responsible for making the decision
Right.
of what works best for you or communicating what you need. And
Yeah.
you all do a really good job of listening and
Yeah.
saying, how can we make that happen for you? So I really appreciate that you're doing that. I'm really curious to know, like, when you first started the Dames, is there one person that kind of stands out that had a transformation or something that they said that made you, that told you, I'm doing the right thing?
Oh man, there's been so many, but I would say it's from those dames who have come to me and said, I just broke through this mark. I just broke through the 7-figure mark. And here were the good things about that, and here were the bad things about that. And I really want to connect with other women who've been there, done that, so that I can make this next transition even more smooth. Who can you connect me with? And being able to do that and then hear the reports of what happened just from that connection. Or, I can think of several women who have come to me and just been in tears celebrating that they made it through the 250K mark or the
Hmm.
500K mark, and or that are going through personal challenges like divorce or having a death in the family or a significant illness, or there we are a very vulnerable culture if you want to be, and you can share as little or as much as you want. But I'm a firm believer that as the leader of this community, if I put on this air that everything is fine, it makes everyone feel, those who are feelers can feel that that is a disingenuine person.
Yeah.
And it also makes people feel like, well, gosh, when I'm having hard times, is there just something fundamentally wrong with me? No, it's just the other people who aren't really being honest with what's going on with them, So it's an important thing for me to really be vulnerable and to encourage vulnerability. But that also creates this culture of women telling me and telling each other, like, here's these victories that I've had. So it's always fun to be on different calls and hear these victories or receive the member surveys and see these things. And we're able to celebrate members for their accomplishments of breaking bad habits and
Yeah.
breaking through ceilings.
And I think that's really good to have a space of celebration and transparency,
Yeah.
because if there's this celebration and it's all razzle dazzle, you're absolutely right. People are thinking, I'm broken. There's some,
Yeah.
but to realize and to have the space where you can say, yes, I'm having a 6 or 7 figure problem,
Mhm.
and no one's judging that you're having a 6 or 7 figure problem, because they're like, that's not relatable. You can have this conversation here and realize it happens at every level.
Mhm.
It happens just because you're making the money doesn't mean that the problems go away. And you need a space where you can say, it's still happening.
Yeah.
How do I fix this thing? And we tend to fix it a little faster
Mhm.
because you can have the conversations, you have the thought process, you have the people, all the minds that can come together and say, we see you and know you're not broken. And here's what you may want to consider, but not forcing this is what you have to do. So I
Yep.
love that about the organization. Coming up, like in the next few years, you have any future plans, any new initiatives or things that you're considering that you want to spill a little secret on?
Well, we've been in a sort of a holding pattern in terms of growing chapters for a while, because
Yeah.
after the pandemic, there was a lot of readjusting that had to be done.
Okay.
And so now we're at that stage where we're launching our Boston chapter in June. And we're really excited about that and looking at Austin, looking at a couple of other cities in Texas, and looking at some other markets to really start launching more chapters. So there's going to be increased in-person connection, and also just helping our members really understand the value of there is a lot that can happen in virtual connection that can be solidified when you come in person to, say, the Funference, or if you're traveling and you meet up with some other dames in a local area that you're traveling to. But what I'm most excited about is continuing to build the trainings that we're offering and the infrastructure that we're offering to really help women demystify some of the challenges that they're going through. And I'm really sensitive to and noticing the hardcore differences between, I mean, the sensitivities almost that happen for women who are growing a six-figure business that are new in six figures and those that are farther along, and really helping them through those sensitive times and understanding that it doesn't mean that you're a less than person. It doesn't mean that because you're in this group of 100K to 250K that there's something wrong with you. But I have a lot of experiences from the past of being in groups where it was like I wasn't even at six figures yet, and I'm in these learning environments with 7 and 8 figure business owners and feeling like the biggest failure because I was not even close to having those problems. You know, I wasn't thinking about my 50th hire. I was thinking
Right.
about how I'm going to pay my bills as a solopreneur. So it's really important for us to continue to build those resources at the different levels, not from the perspective of saying, well, you're stuck here. It's from the perspective of saying, how can you shift your mindset to understand that going to that next level doesn't have to mean, and it shouldn't mean working harder. It should mean, is your business model needing a refresh? Is there a coach that you should be working with? Or is it a time for you to hire a CFO? Or is it a time for you to build your business knowledge and your business acumen and really helping them have those resources so that they can be there and get there and have that satisfaction?
There's so much value in that. And again, I think you were really, what's the word that I want to use? Really obedient in following your intuition and
Yes.
understanding that this was a space that was necessary and sticking with it,
Mhm.
following it through the place to the place where we are now. So I know a lot of people are listening and wondering, so okay, you all are talking about all the great things about this organization. How should someone explore this if they're interested in it? If they're saying, I need something like this, what do you recommend that they do?
Yes, it depends on your personality. So I'm one of those people that typically doesn't want to waste much time. And so I just want to get involved when I hear about something that is right for me. So we have the ability for you to come to the dames.co/apply. And if you're currently running a six-figure or higher business, or you're a director or higher in a large organization, and you feel like you have the values match for this collaborative organization, we encourage you to come and apply to and join. Really, you don't even have to wait. If you're someone who wants to come and experience the Dames, you can come to the dames.co/roundtable. And again, if you're at that 6 or 7 figure or higher level or director level, come and experience an event that the Dames offers for all prospects. Or maybe you just want to come and, check out what it is that we have. You can come to the dames.co and check out our blog, check out the various resources that we have there, or you can find me at the Dames Co. and at Meghann Conter on all social networks. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you want to connect. And, I believe that it's about building relationships always. And that's what you're going to do once you're in the Dames. And so it's important to really understand who you are, what makes you unique, and have you come in and really meet those people who are here to support you in collaboration and who really have your best interests in mind. Like Shayla and I have this amazing collaboration where we share a very similar audience. Our ideal clients are almost the same. And I know what Shayla's objectives are. And so I'm going to make the introductions for her to the people that she needs to know in order to meet her goals. And she knows the same for me. And so when we meet, it's this mutual, how can I support you? And we know exactly specifically what our asks are. And so come into the Dames and learn about your ask, learn about how collaboration actually works, and come into this ecosystem that's set up for that. It's not natural. It's
Yeah.
not a thing that we just understand how to do because society has not helped us learn this. So come into our supportive environment and we're happy to really help you understand what the ask is and how to make it frequently because you deserve that. You deserve to be in a community that knows you, likes you, trusts you, supports you.
Totally agree. Totally agree. So if we could leave the Lux Queens with one piece of advice, what would you tell them?
I would say it's about looking at your story as it relates to women and taking some time to reflect. How do I feel about other women? Am I someone who naturally feels like I want to collaborate at all times and I'm always making connections for people and I'm always seeing what I can do for them in order to be support them and knows what to ask for in terms of how to be supportive? Great, you're already there. But I would most people who come into our organization and who come into our sphere, this isn't something that they have spent a lot of time doing and thinking about. So I invite you to really just think about what that story is and whether or not it's time to heal that
Yeah.
story and up level it to a new story and say, wow, there is so much abundance out there. And if I work to get clear and if I become ultra clear on who it is that I'm here to serve and what it is that I do, and then I want to be able to communicate with and collaborate with other women to help support each other in getting there, this is the place to do that. But you've got to start with what is my current outlook on competition, collaboration, women. We have middle school stories that are still running the show
Yeah.
underneath the surface. And it's time that we all as women heal that on a collective level because there's so much support to be had. And it's a shame if we're letting our 12-year-old selves run the show.
Oh, that's big. That's so big. And I love that you wrapped it up like that. And thank you so much for joining us today, Megan. And
Thank you.
I can't wait to see you at the next Dames event.
I know Fun Friends is coming up in October.
Yes, we'll make sure that we have all the links that Megan spoke about. We'll make sure we have them included below this video. And if this is something that really sparked a little bit of joy for you and you're a good fit for this, make sure that you reach out and find your way into Megan's community. All right. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will get together again next time.
Thank you, Shayla.
You're welcome.